so we still have some more time. Or were there other things that were coming to mind for you when you listened to the consultation I had with Jessica, or other things you wanted to share in this session?
Yeah, I think one of the things she talked about too that was insightful for me was how having a depressed parent has affected me. I think I get really sensitized around people that suffer through depression. I think one of those things of she talked about not feeling safe and like that would really affect my survival abilities because if mom's not able to take care of me, that's a big thing. So that stood out to me and it connected some dots for me.
Can you be more specific?
Sure. I think when I see other people depressed, I think my mind goes to how can I help them out of this? It's not how can I be empathetic of where they're at. I think it's just let's try to solve the problem. I think some of the times I've struggled with sadness on myself is just I'm afraid of where it's going to lead. So I think those are the two ways it plays out.
Mm-hmm. And as you connect those dots, I know that's probably a relatively recent awareness, but can you imagine how you might relate to those, the feeling of sadness or seeing someone else with depression differently now that you can see the narrative that created those beliefs?
Yeah, I think ideally I'd move more to empathy when it's other people. I think I'd want to move away from trying to solve their problem uh, and not take that on myself as if I could anyway. Um, and then in terms of myself for sadness, is just letting the sadness being there. I think, like I said, I was afraid of where that was going to take me. And so I'd always try to like, as quickly as I could, just go put our energy into something positive or something to like move away from that. But I think, especially now, I think I can handle it better.
How do you know?
Because I just went through like this really hard breakup and that hit me pretty hard. But I mean, I still find reasons to laugh. I still find reasons to like find joy in the world or something that really sparks my interest. So if I can make it through this, then I can pretty much make it through any of those type of sadness, right?
Yes, exactly. And especially because sadness is its own is a feeling independent of content. So you're not going to have a different type of any other time that there's something that would trigger the feeling of sadness. It's still going to be the same feeling that you've already had.
Right.
So truly, if you've been able to cope effectively with the feeling of sadness one time, then you have a template for how you can respond to it at any other time.
That makes sense.
I'm really glad to hear. I'm really glad to hear that you've made that connection too. That like rather than this really kind of tragic event turning into something that not only changes the course of your life, but also makes you feel that you can't like um, disempowers your sense of the ability to cope. You've already shifted it into like uh, empowering situation. So you don't know how the rest of your life is going to go. Like you still have that uncertainty, but being able to handle something hard and see like I know how to handle something like this. And in fact, when hard things happen, I'm even more empowered. Is a really great place to be, particularly so recently after this has happened for you. Do you have thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think like we talked about earlier, what gives me hope is that I've been able to access things that I didn't think I could. Like I said, at any other point in my life, I know I would have ruminated. I know I would have, and I did some of the time now, but I was able to move away from it. And one thing you've talked about is how quickly you can move away from whatever is causing you suffering. And so I think the same thing happens in sports is when you work out, you still get tired regardless of how much you work out, but how quickly you can like start breathing normally again and get off that is where my mind went and connected the two things. It's not so much that I'm ruminating or that I feel sad or anything. It's just how quickly can I get back to where I want to go?
Yes, and same goes for anger, and same goes for anxiety. So it's okay to feel anger in the first place. It's just you just have to calm yourself down and cope with it, and then you get back to a place that you can act from a place of like groundedness. But anger nor anxiety doesn't, neither has to be like a threat in the first place.
Right.
And in fact, it seems like you're coping with sadness really well these days. Would you say that you're coping with it well?
Yes, definitely. I think one shift. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and I was going to say, how can you apply what you're learning about coping with sadness to both anger and anxiety?
Well, I think surrendering to that they're going to be there is important. That was absolutely important with sadness. So I think for both anxiety and anger, I think that still applies. I think learning from what's worked in the past helps me. And then just, again, shifting back to where I want to go with it. It's not so much getting rid of it.
I agree with you on all of those things. What were there other things that you're hoping to talk about today?
No, I think that pretty much captured it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for the session and for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.